This is Abe Friedtanzer from Lord's Radar, and I'm so thrilled to be speaking with Meghann Fahy about The White Lotus. How are you, Megan?
I'm so great. How are you?
Good, good. This show was a long time ago, right? How are you? Do you still remember the experience of being on it?
Yeah, I mean, it was unforgettable. And also, we've had such a great time with the sort of audience reaction and stuff I forget that it was so long ago. It doesn't feel that far away from me yet.
Were you aware of season one when it was airing?
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the first season. So for me, it was like a dream come true to be able to be a part of second season.
And what appealed to you about the role of Daphne?
I think I just sort of immediately loved her sort of warmth and just, how complicated um, she ends up being. That was so fun to play a character that was so nuanced.
Yeah, I think she's the of that quartet, she's the one I think we know the least about, and we get to see the most like towards the very end when the season is ending, which is gratifying, but also a little disappointing because we'd like to get to know her a little bit better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the show sort of in general is meant to be a slow burn. So I feel like we feel that way kind of about all of the characters, but I do think that Daphne has an especially um interesting sort of unraveling or like the more layers that are revealed about her as the show goes on, like the more you're kind of like, wait, who is this girl? I thought I had her pegged, and you just kind of can't.
There are two scenes that I immediately think back to, and one of them, I don't know if you've heard this before, but the one with the picture of her kids on the phone was sent to press, and there's no image on the phone. So, like when I watched the episode, I didn't quite grasp the significance because they hadn't added the picture on the phone, the significance of that scene. What was it like filming that one?
Yeah, that's definitely the other shoe that drops for the audience, but it was written in the script as like, she shows a photo of her kids and it's exactly what she described her trainer to be. Basically, it didn't say it in those words, it just described the kids. So I kind of remember putting it together in the moment being like, oh my God, is that what we're saying here? And it absolutely is what we were saying there. That was actually one of my favorite scenes to shoot just because Mike wrote it in this way where it seems kind of subtle, but then it's also really also blatant somehow. And he balances that in this way where like half of my friends got it, and then half of my friends thought she was saying something completely different. And I think that was sort of by design, which is pretty cool.
I remember when the episode aired, and I was seeing other people notice that they hadn't because we hadn't, the press hadn't seen that piece of it that you really do miss something, which is just interesting because I think there are a lot of moments on this show where you look away for a second and you could miss an entire, subplot or something.
Yeah, it's sort of subtle in that way. I think that, and such a fan of that. I love to be engaged in something in a way where you kind of have to always be watching it. You can't just, start looking at your phone and then 5 minutes later still know what's going on. Like it really is an engaging watch, which I think is, it's what I look for in shows when I'm watching TV. So
There's also that scene with Ethan in the last episode, just in the water, that is very like just a flash of something that we don't really see the rest of the time. How much of that was in the script and how much of that was just like what felt right in the moment?
well, it was definitely written to be, I mean, we shot it a bunch of different ways in terms of Daphne's POV, like super flirty versus not very flirty. And so I was really interested to see how they ended up cutting it together. But I think it was always kind of meant to be this mysterious sort of did they, didn't they, what happened kind of moment. And the thing that I love is that, you know, Mike and I never really spoke about what does or doesn't happen. He kind of let me make my own choice. And he also didn't, when I asked him, he was like, I don't know. what do you think? So I love that about him. I think he really is genuinely presenting the audience with a scenario and letting them kind of figure out how they feel about it.
What was it like to work with Theo James, and does it matter that his character is American?
He's amazing. Theo and I got really close. We're good buddies. I actually just saw him earlier today, and he's a really talented actor. And I was really grateful to have him as my scene partner, like my husband, kind of, on the show, because it was just a really natural, easy, effortless working environment. And so we got to play and have a lot of fun as a result of that. And his American accent is incredible. I mean, I don't think I watched the show, and I think there was like at no point was I like, "Ooh, I heard it." Like he just was flawless with it. So yeah, we had a blast.
And you share some pretty great scenes with Aubrey Plaza, who I think is just terrific in this role. Had you worked with her before? What were you expecting from that collaboration?
I had not worked with her before. It was my first time. Of course, I knew who she was before we got to work together, and we also had a blast. I mean, I think the characters on screen are meant to have pretty opposing energies, and so I think that sort of innately creates a really exciting dynamic between the two characters. And she and I had a lot of fun sort of playing to and also against that at certain points. It was a blast.
Also, a very nice, elegant field trip. What was shooting that like?
Oh, the winery. Yeah, that was so fun. We woke up super, super early that morning to drive to the winery, which was like an hour or so away, and like watched the sunrise and all that. And then we shot there for the whole day. And it obviously wasn't functioning as a winery that day, but just the sort of scenery and the environment was so beautiful and authentic that it really helped us kind of like just get into the mood a bit. And those scenes that we got to shoot there, I thought were so fun too, for the four of us to kind of um like those conversations, like, and Harper's character that day is like feeling really feisty. So to kind of watch that play out, and then from Daphne's standpoint, like her kind of piecing the whole thing together and just sort of observing was really, really fun.
And the whole experience of just shooting in Italy in general and at a resort, what was that like?
I mean, it was kind of as amazing as you think it's going to be, like when you imagine living in a place that beautiful, it feels that amazing every day. I don't think I ever really got sick of it or used to it. Like I think every day I would wake up and look out the window at the sea and be like, I can't believe I'm looking at this. Like it just didn't even seem real. It was pretty cool.
It's also a really big ensemble, but I feel like Daphne doesn't get to really travel too much outside of her little bubble of people. Who would you most have liked to have a lot of scenes with that just didn't happen?
I mean, I would have loved to have worked with Jennifer Coolidge. Obviously, I feel like that's everybody's go-to just because she's so spectacular. But I did watch some of her scenes from the monitor, just like, because I'm such a fan of hers, and watching her work was pretty special. I felt the same way about Murray and Michael Imperioli as well. I watched them do some stuff together, and they're just both so incredible that I just felt like getting to watch them do their thing was like such a treat, you know.
Is anybody who Daphne would have particularly gotten along well with? Not just you,
I mean,
Megan.
I think Daphne would have definitely gotten along really well with Tanya. And I also feel like Daphne and Jack would have had a blast because he's a good time guy and she's a good time gal. And I feel like the two of them would get into some trouble.
He looks a little bit more like her kids, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously Jennifer Coolidge came back for season two, and it's been announced that Natasha Rothwell will be back for season three. Do you feel like there's more you'd want to do with Daphne if you had the opportunity, or do you feel like this is a good sort of closed loop?
I mean, I guess I haven't really thought of that. As a fan of the show, I was so happy to hear that she was rejoining because she was one of my favorite characters in season one. So I'm kind of just only excited to see how that plays out. I mean, obviously, I would love to go back anytime, but yeah, I don't really think of it in terms of like her story being finished or not. I think again as a fan, like I still think of the characters from season one, and I'm like, I wonder what they're doing now. So I think it's going to be really cool that we'll get to see that in season three.
You think that fans have responded differently than to previous roles of yours and, you know, The Bold Type and One Life to Live and other things? Or is this fan base for the White Lotus just sort of its own beast?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I've ever been a part of a show that's such a cultural phenomenon, and that is a rare thing. It's rare for a show to be that, and it's rare to be a person who gets to be a part of that. So it definitely doesn't really compare on that front, for sure. It feels like it's definitely on another level, but it's been really, really fun.
What else are you working on? Do you have something lined up next?
I actually just started production on a Netflix miniseries called The Perfect Couple that's shooting in Cape Cod, where I grew up going every summer. So it's just kind of another dreamy, beachy situation that I'm really excited about. The cast is amazing, the director is awesome, and it's just a great group. So yeah,
Wonderful. Well, I wish you plenty of luck with that. Thank you for taking a few minutes today to speak with me.
thanks so much. I appreciate it. It was nice chatting with you.